Now, with this declaration of the teacher that this was their last French lesson, everything was clear to Franz. It was clear that it was in honor of this last lesson that he was wearing his special dress. It was for this reason that everybody in the classroom was serious, and then it was only to show their gratitude to the teacher that the village people had come in the classroom. The teacher had served them for the last 40 years, and today the village people had come to the school only to say thanks to the teacher for his 40 years of service. Franz, he says that while he was thinking of everything, he all of a sudden heard teacher calling out his name. It was the turn of Franz to recite the rules of participles. Today, Franz wanted to tell everything very clearly without making any mistake. But that did not happen because he was not prepared with it and he could not tell even a single word. He could not even look up at the teacher, he was so ashamed. But the teacher said very politely, Franz, you are not the only one to be blamed. All of us are to be equally blamed for the same. Number one, your parents. They always preferred to send you to the farms so as to earn a little more money. They were never very serious about your studies. 2. As a teacher, whenever I was not in a mood to teach, I would give you an off. And 3. You students are responsible because you have always postponed learning. You have procrastinated. You have always told yourself, bah, I have plenty of time and I will do it later. This never happens. Then from one thing to another, the teacher M. Hamel, he just went on to talk of the French language. What did the teacher tell the children about the French language? He told that French language was the most beautiful language in the world. It was the clearest, the most logical language, and people must safeguard their language. They should never forget the language. When a nation is enslaved, as long as the people hold fast to their language, they have a key to the prison. Language is a key to the prison, so people must safeguard their language. He took them, he told, he just had a lesson of history. Franz, he says that he had never listened so carefully and the teacher had never explained everything with so much patience. Today, everything, it seemed to be so simple. Franz was able to understand very clearly. After the grammar lesson, the teacher gave them a lesson in writing. Today, the teacher had brought new notebooks for the students. On the notebooks, in the beautiful hand, it was written France Alsace, France Alsace. Now, whenever Franz looked up at the teacher, he saw that the teacher was sitting motionless in his chair and he was gazing from one thing to the other. It was as if before leaving, the poor man wanted to fix in his gaze everything. So, when you are asked the question, how did the teacher behave during the classroom, during the last lesson? During the last lesson, the teacher was gazing from one thing to the other as if he wanted to fix in his gaze everything before he left that school. The teacher, he did not become emotional. He had the courage to hear every lesson to the very last. After the writing lesson, we had a lesson in history, and then Even the small babies sitting in the classroom, they were sitting very quietly. They were doing their work very attentively. When some beetles, some insects, some ants flew in the classroom, nobody paid any attention to those insects, those beetles. Everybody was so much engrossed in the work. And all at once the church clock it struck 12, and then the prayer. The Prussian soldiers also were coming from the drill, and M. Hamel, he just stood up from his chair. He had grown very tall, tall with grief. He wanted to say something, but the words did not come out. He felt choked. He simply turned to the blackboard, took a piece of chalk, and with all his might, he wrote in the large letters, Vive la France. It means, May France live long. He stopped. He leaned his head against the wall, and without uttering any word, he simply made a gesture to the students with his hand. School is dismissed. You may go.